begin with the operating system fundamentals, particularly Linux. Why do we need Linux and all? Let's get started. Before we get on to Linux operating system, just a refresh of what an operating system is and all. So today we'll understand what is an operating system, why do we need Linux for DevOps, what are virtualization and virtual machines, and what is a cloud. So we'll get the basic understanding on this. So what is an operating system? Like every one of us are using something or the other OS, right? So it works like an interface between the hardware components and the user. It works like a bridge. Like let's say we bought a laptop. We need to install some operating system, right? Let's say I want to play some games or write some documents, draft something or do some painting, whatever. To do any task, to perform any operations, we need an operating system to be installed, right? It works like an interface between me, like a user, and the hardware components. So that's how we can work with any program or any application. So that's how an OS works. And in this OS, when we say, okay, operating system will act like a bridge, it helps us do these things. It does many things beyond that. And when we talk about operating system help us do all this, when we say this, the actual component that works at the backend is the kernel. Right? Kernel is the core component which allows you to perform some tasks and which helps this communication between the hardware and the software applications. Not only that, it will help in multitasking. You can work with multiple applications. When some application is not in place, I mean, if you are not using some application, it could just put that application, means it could allocate the resources from this application to other application which is running. So all of that memory sharing and the memory utilization in a best way, efficient way, all of that would be taken care by this core component, which is kernel. It makes the communication possible. It makes multitasking possible. It does the resource sharing and all, right? So that's what a kernel, the core component. And there are different kernels. Particularly when you talk about different OS, Linux uses monolithic kernel, which consumes more running space, whereas Windows uses microkernel, which takes less space but lowers the system running efficiency than Linux, right? Here the whole point is Linux uses microkernel, Windows uses other type of kernel, microkernel. Sorry, Linux uses monolithic kernel and Windows uses microkernel. Monolithic kernel is very, like, it helps you run your system very faster, but it consumes more space. Microkernel, which is used by Windows, it consumes less space, less resources, but it makes the system work slowly, which makes Windows less efficient than Linux. If you know, obviously Linux systems are more efficient, right? You work with them very faster. You can work with multiple applications, multiple resources very fastly in Linux than in Windows. But not only that, in Linux, like, it's less vulnerable for thefts and attacks. That's not the case with Windows, right? So these are the major points for going for Linux. Majority of the systems in real time are Linux, particularly when we talk about DevOps. For first reason, like, it's more efficient and you can run your application faster in Linux when compared with Windows. Also security, right? Also Linux is open source and Windows, you have to purchase the license. These are the major differences. And if you deep dive, you see a lot of differences, other differences. Like first one is open source and free to use. That's not the case with Windows. And Linux file system is case sensitive. Again, that's not the case with Windows. Linux uses monolithic kernel, Windows uses microkernel. Linux is more efficient in operations, in the efficiency, in the pace you work with the multiple applications. Linux is more efficient. It's secure when compared with Windows, and in Linux we use forward slashes, whereas in Windows you use backward. These are the basic differences. When you deep dive, when you start using Linux, you can understand the actual differences and you get more visibility. And like, why do we need Linux for DevOps? Okay, we understood it's more efficient and it's more secure. Any other reason? The other reason is majority of the DevOps tools, like for example, if you take Docker, Ansible, the Ansible server or the controller machine should be Linux. It can configure Windows servers also. Means Ansible is a configuration management tool. It can configure Windows servers also, but it should be installed on Linux only. Same is the case with Prometheus. Docker, of course, Docker works for Windows also, but it is native for Linux, right? So you have majority of the components which are native for Linux, and that's another reason for going for Linux, right? And another thing I'm talking about is like the major difference you would see if you are a beginner is Windows, you will have a great GUI. Majority of the Linux systems, except one or two like Ubuntu, you don't have the UI, user interface. Means you will not have GUI, graphical user interface. You will have just the CLI. CLI is more convenient or more effective when working with multiple files or when having operations faster. The CLI is very much preferred approach. That's what we would use for DevOps as well, right? And coming to the virtualization uses software to create an abstraction layer over computer hardware that allows the hardware elements of a single computer, processors, memory, storage, and more to be divided into multiple virtual computers, commonly called as virtual machines. Why are we going through virtualization? Let's take a step back. Yes, we were talking about we need Linux for DevOps, right? Okay, fine. We will need some Linux servers. How do we have Linux servers? Let's say mine is a Windows machine, Windows laptop. How can I have Linux? Anyone? How can we have a Linux operating system when my laptop is Windows? Should I buy another laptop which is Linux? Is that a feasible option? What should I do? I'm having Windows laptop. I want Linux for learning DevOps. How do I do that? How do I make use of Linux in such cases?
By the virtual machines or the Linux subsystem for Windows.
Right, the like most general option, suggested option some days back or else couple of years back would be definitely virtual machines. So meaning you would be starting a Linux virtual machine on your laptop, which is Windows, so that you would have a Linux environment and you would use that virtual machine to for DevOps. So, but what is actually that virtual machine? So these virtual machines uses a concept called virtualization. Virtualization uses software to create an abstraction layer over computer hardware that allows the hardware elements of a single computer, processors, memory, storage, and more to be divided into multiple virtual computers, commonly called virtual machines. So, what exactly is this virtualization? Let me show you diagrammatically. Let's say this is your laptop. Okay, I think one second. Hmm. Okay, here you can see this is your hardware. Let's say this is my laptop. Host OS is Windows in my case. Let's say I'm having Windows laptop. Now I want to have some Linux virtual machine. So to have that virtual machine, you need to have something called hypervisor. What is a hypervisor? You might have used something or the other hypervisors. What is a hypervisor? Hypervisor is nothing but a software with which you can create, with which you can launch your virtual machines, right? It's like a software. Examples are Oracle VirtualBox, right? VMware, VM Workstation, Hyper-V. These are all different examples of hypervisor. So if you want to launch virtual machines, you need to install hypervisor software, right? On top of that, you should have some virtual machines. So these are the virtual machines. You can have any number of virtual machines like this, right? So of course, any number depends on these virtual machines. Resources means you should allocate some resources to these virtual machines. Those resources will be allocated from your host, like 40 GB, 30 GB. You have to allocate the resources for your virtual machines. And when you allocate some resources, out of those resources, like let's say I have allocated some 30 GB, out of that, it will have its own operating system, which will be consuming majority of the resources here. Every operating system will have, every virtual machine will have its own operating system. Like you may start a Linux virtual machine here, you may start another Windows virtual machine here, and so on. Right? And let's say your operating system, main operating system is having only 50 GB. You cannot accommodate another VM with a 20 GB. You need to have some resources available for the host itself and the its own process to run, right? If you put too many VMs, it may degrade the performance, right? Also, how many VMs depends on like how many resources available on the host and so on. But basically, this is the architecture. Like you can have some hypervisor with which you can create a VM, and that VM sits on your host OS, right? And every VM can have its own operating system. So I may have some Linux operating the Linux virtual machine, some other version of Windows. Yes, we can have it. This is how virtual machines work. But if you see here, there are some overheads, maintenance. Isn't it? You have to maintain this virtual machines. If for some reasons it's gone or shut down, you have to take care of recovering that, right? You have to take care of the recovery of that machine. And not only that, let's suppose you have executed something, you want to have backup, you need to take care of this. If for some reasons it's a shutdown, you have to take care of it. Let's suppose for our DevOps, we need some 5 machines running parallelly at the same time. If you don't have enough resources, again, it's going to be expensive to expand the resources of your laptop, of your hardware, right? So these are all the overheads and the additional tasks you need to do if you launch your own virtual machines, right? Am I clear with this page? Any questions here? So the same is a kind of like a similar architecture is implemented in companies as well, but a little bit of difference. And whatever we were talking about is called hosted architecture. This is used for personal purpose, like for your learning purpose. If you want to learn DevOps, we can go for it, right? And yes, companies also will have their own data center, their own virtual machines, and this is called bare metal architecture, like which organizations will use it. It's nothing but directly on the hardware, you can install hypervisor. You don't need a host OS, which will be a very huge physical servers on which multiple VMs could be launched. This is bare metal architecture. Whether it is a hosted architecture or bare metal architecture, the overheads are similar: maintenance, backup, recovery. So if company is maintaining their own data center, they need to maintain a separate admin team 24/7 to manage, monitor, to see their recovery, health. All of that should be taken care by. Am I correct? Basically, resiliency, reliability, all of that should be taken care by. So which is going to be a huge challenge for them. One second. So this is how both, whether it is an organization or for personal purpose, you have an overhead of it, right? So nowadays, what companies are also doing, instead of managing their own data center, they're going for cloud. Instead of managing my own VMs on my own laptop, I would be using some instances on cloud, right? So if you see here, so what is cloud? On-demand computing services delivered to us over the internet is called cloud. Cloud is nothing but a service where you can have your infrastructure on demand as per your need, as per the requirement. It is self-service. You can just open the console and get it. You don't need a separate team to create the infra or manage or monitor. Backup, recovery, resiliency, reliability, all of them would be taken care by the cloud provider. It's nothing but companies, instead of using their own data center, they were using infra from someone else's data center, which is nothing but a cloud provider like AWS, Azure, GCP. These are all different cloud providers. Means they are managing their own data centers, and companies are using infrastructure from their data centers, from AWS data center, let's say. That's nothing but cloud infra. Here you can, it's metered, means you pay only for what you use. Unlike in your own data center or else in your own infra, even though you don't use it 24/7, you should have a maintaining it. You should maintain backup recovery of it, right? You should have a them standby whenever you need it. You have to switch on them. But in cloud, like whatever, like let's say you need only for 2 hours, you go and switch on them for 2 hours, you pay only for 2 hours. You don't need to pay for the rest of the 22 hours of the day, right? That's how it's metered, self-service, no need of an additional team. You don't need a separate team. You don't need to struggle for their backup, recovery, upgrades, maintenance. You don't need to take care of all of that. So companies nowadays are moving for cloud because of all of this comfort and reducing the overheads we have till now. Similarly, even for our learning purpose also, we could use instances on cloud rather than running virtual machines on our own laptop, so that you don't need to worry about the resource utilization or expanding the resources and all. Is that clear for everyone why we are going for cloud? Even for our DevOps, we'll use some instances on cloud. That's the reason we are stepping into the cloud. Good to go. Any questions from anyone? And there were so many cloud providers, different cloud providers are emerging every day. Here, this is the graph from 2021, which is for AWS, GCP, and Azure. You can also see the latest graphs. It's not expected that every candidate is expertise in all the cloud environments. You should know AWS, GCP, Azure. No. Companies are looking for having good knowledge on one cloud so that they could shift and work on any other clouds easily. That's the expectation. Any questions? If we are good, we can go for AWS Cloud. You can go and create a free account here. Go to amazon.com. Let me sign out to create a new account. So you can go and create a free AWS account. This is the page. It's self-explanatory. Like you create any Gmail account, you can go and create a free account. It will ask you to give some username and password. Like you should provide some email ID. That email ID will be considered as a root user email ID, right? And then some name and verify your email ID and continue. So you should navigate through these steps. Like it's a 6 steps where you provide your details of your contact number and all, and you would be all set to create a free account. And what is this free account? If you want to know more details, like how free, to what extent it's free, you can see here. So free account is for 1 year validity. And in 1 year, you can use it, say 12 months free. What is it free in 12 months? Is it unlimited usage? No. You have to use within the limits. Means within this 12 hours, you have EC2 service. EC2 means Elastic Cloud Compute Service, which is like a virtual machines. We call them as EC2 instances. You can use EC2 instances 750 hours for free, right? So 750 hours for you can use per month. See here, every month you will get 750 hours. So if you use within that limit, it's free. If you use beyond 750 hours, you will be charged. But for our lab purpose, it's more than enough. We don't exceed it, but still you should be cautious using those instances. What are all the things we need to check and all we'll discuss. But yeah, that's a 12 months free. Like each service, you have a limited usage, right? And yeah, once you create a free account, you can log into your AWS console. Sign in with your user email ID, like you will be using some email ID, right? So with that, you can sign in. And once you sign in, you will be seeing the AWS console from where you can work with any services. Here in the services, you can go here and go to EC2. And if you see here, these are the EC2 instances, and this is the EC2 console. before creating an account, you should take care of few things. Once you create an account, it's valid for 12 months, and within this 12 months, you can use those resources within the free tier limits. Another thing is, whenever you're creating an account, you will be prompted for some credit card or debit card details. That is to check the the genuinity of the user. And yes, initially it will debit some 1 or 2 rupees, and it will also credit back to check the validity of the user. So those details you have to provide. And yeah, like I said, 1 or 2 rupees will be deducted, and it will be credited back. So once your free account is created, we can go and create some Linux VM, Linux instance, and get started learning Linux basics. Good to go. On any questions from anyone till this much? Surya, you have the billing details on your account here. If you go here, you will see billing details. You can check like how much you are charged in the upfront.
Priti, if you log in as a root user, no problem, right? For easy to instance this console.
If we use EC2 instance from this console, yes, T2
Um,
micro,
if you log in as a root user, no problem, right? For the AWS account.
that's not a problem.
Yeah, okay.
Generally, we'll be using different users. Generally, root user access you will not have. Only root user can see the billing details and all. We'll be using a regular users like IEM users, but it wouldn't be affecting the charge or prices.
Okay.
Now let's create an EC2 instance. Go to launch instance. Here you may give some name like a demo. And then here application and OS image. Here you can choose the image, which kind of OS you want to create. There were so many. If you see, do you see you can create Amazon Linux, Mac, Ubuntu, Red Hat, SUSE Linux, and so on. So many are there. And here you have to choose Amazon Linux. Amazon Linux one is a Red Hat CentOS base, which is widely used. So choose this, but don't choose Amazon Linux 2023. Choose this one, Amazon Linux 2. Remember this, there might be some slight difference in the installation commands. So choose the instance properly. Otherwise, the commands I use may not be working for you. So Amazon Linux 2 is the one you should choose. And here you will see it as free tier eligible. And then instance type. There are different instance types depending on the virtual CPUs and gigs of memory it offers. We are going with T2 Micro, which offers 1 CPU and 1 gigs of memory, which is free tier eligible, which is enough for our lab. So go with T2 Micro. And then we have chosen these things. Then key pair. If you want to connect your instance, you have to create some key pair. The concept, there's an SH concept behind using this key pair, which we'll be learning in the next class. So for now, if it is a new instance, you will, new account, there'll be no key pair. So create a new key pair. Give some name as A, B, C, D, or else ABC. Okay, it will create a key pair and you will get the key downloaded in the form of PEM format. Create a key pair. See, you will see the PEM file downloaded here. Do you see the PEM file downloaded here? Right? So that PEM file is very important for you to connect to the instance later on. We are creating a virtual machine. You need to log in. You need to connect to that, right? So that's a PEM file. So launch the instance, right? And make sure you have saved that key pair, because later on you can't download it. And if you miss that, you can't connect to it. So make sure you have saved it securely and launch the instance. Your instance will be created. Again, if you go here and choose the running instances, you can see with the same name and its running details, T2 micro, and you can see the key pair name also. And another thing is, whenever you create instance, you will see so many regions here. These are all AWS regions, means AWS physical data centers. These are the geographical physical locations where AWS has got its own data centers, right? And here you can choose the one which is nearer for you. Nearer for you because to avoid latency, lag and latency, choose the one which is nearer for you. If you are in US, choose something from here. If you are in India, we can choose something from Mumbai. We also have Hyderabad, you can add it. You go to Mani's regions and add it. So basically choose the one which is nearer to you. So that's the best practice. That's why I have chosen Mumbai. And when I choose the Mumbai, here there'll be something called availability zone, which would be shown as, where is it? AP South 1B. In the same region, you will have multiple availability zones to avoid disasters, kind of during disasters and all. To replicate, you have availability zones like AP South 1A, 1B and all. So automatically it has chosen something like 1B. So this is your EC2 instance. It is ready. Now how to connect? There are multiple ways to connect to this instance. I'll show you all the different ways one after the other. By the way, if you just come here, whatever I'm talking about, even creating the instance with the screenshots were available. These screenshots might be a bit older, but still it will give you an idea how to create. It's a 6 steps. And then launching an instance also here. The UI might be different if you see. UI keep on changes. But yeah, again, that will give you an idea. And anyway, there will be recording to see the exact pages. So these are the steps to create an instance. And now how do you connect? Let's come back and connect. There are multiple ways. First, let's go with a simple way. Click on connect. And in that connect to instance, again, there are multiple tabs. Go to instance connect. Click on this. See, this is called browser-based connect. Very easy and simple way to connect. See, I am on EC2 instance. EC2 user is the default user. So you will be logged in as EC2 user and you can see that you are connected. This is called browser-based connect, quick connect, instance connect. But this may not be helpful always. Because to connect to this, you need to have this console access. In real time, it may not be possible that every one of you have this console access. We may not have this console access. You will be having only given the details of your instance. You would not be given this console. Then how do you connect? Isn't it? So we should be learning other ways to connect. If you go to again connect, you will see another tab as such client. Right? This is the most general way we connect. Right? There is a concept of SH behind that. I'll teach the SH concept tomorrow. Today, just follow the steps. The meaning of these steps we will learn in SH concept. So just do this. Just copy this command. SSH minus I. See here it's using that PEM file. Easy to user at the DNS of the instance. So copy this. If you are using Windows, go to the start menu and launch your Git bash. By now, you all know Git bash, I believe, if you are using Windows. Yes, do you all know Git bash? You might have used it for Git.
Yeah, Priti, we use it.
Thanks for responding. So you are using Git bash if you have Windows. So go to start menu, launch your Git bash. Yes, Surya, thanks for confirming. So go to that Git bash, launch the Git bash, go to the location wherever you have this PEM file. Means CD to that location wherever you have PEM file and run this command. If you are using Mac also same, but you will launch your terminal. Okay, go to your terminal, go to that location. I have that PEM file in my downloads. So go to the downloads. Okay, now because I have PEM file here, ABC PEM. Where is it? Here it is, ABC PEM. So run this command from that location because this command looks for this file. So you should be running this command from the location of PEM file. It will ask for confirmation, give us, and it says that the file is unprotected. Right, the reason, the commands and all, like I said, I'll explain tomorrow. Just follow the commands. If you are seeing this command, if you are seeing this error, unprotected, chmod 400, abc.pem. That's all. Means actual meaning is it's unprotected. Means the file permissions are too open. See here, read, write, read permissions are there, which are too open, which is not good. We should give proper permissions, only read permissions for the user and no permissions for anyone. See, you may not be understanding this unless you are into Linux. We are going to learn these concepts separately, thoroughly. That's why ignore the concept and just run the commands for now. We will learn these commands separately. Just run this command chmod 400, file name. Now again, try running the same previous command. See, now it works and you are connected. The meaning of it and all we will learn. So anyway, I'm into my Linux system. Got it right, all of you? How to connect? So if it is Windows, you may use git bash and run this command. If it is Mac, yes, launch your terminal, run this command to connect. Even though chmod commands and the steps, whatever I explain, are also here, right? So another thing is in Windows, there are different types of SH clients. These are called SH clients actually, git bash, putty, mobex term, different SH clients. On Mac, you have terminal, you may install anything else, but yeah, if you are using, if you want to use putty or mobex term on Windows, yes, you are free to use, but putty and mobex term cannot use PEM file. They would need a file in the format of PPK, putty private key file format. But I don't have that PEM file. I don't have that file. I have only PEM file. So in that case, you can convert this PEM file. You got this PEM file, right? You can convert this into PPK file. How do you convert? Using something called puttygen. How to use that puttygen? Everything is here. See, if you go to the drive, creating instance, connecting it from the browser, then connecting it from git bash, connecting with putty is also here. Only the difference is you have to first convert this PEM file to PPK and use it putty. If already some people are using putty, or if you are interested, you can use. These are multiple ways. You can use either of the way, but don't go just with browser base. Use git bash or putty. That should be fine. How to connect with a putty. Mobexterm also would be the same PPK file you'll use. You have also small video how to connect from putty. If anyone interested, you can go through and connect. These are the different ways to connect. Are we good and clear? So once you are connected, yes, we are all good to get started with Linux basics. If you are already using Linux, it's well and good. If anyone new to Linux, this will help you. See, it's nothing but another environment. Learning the basics of Linux will do, at least navigating through the files and folders. These things you should be clear with. This one you will get through practice. Like you double click and open the things in Windows, you do everything from the GUI. Here we'll do everything from the CLI. It's just another environment. Spending some time every day will help you get used to it. So now let's begin from the basic commands of using the CLI. May I know how many are new to Linux here? You can raise your hands. Whoever new, I want whoever new. Keep the hand raised so that I'll have the count. Only 2 people. Keep the hand raised. I see 3 people. Rushi, Priya. That's all. Everyone else are from Linux background. Okay. Only 2 people new here. Everyone else are from Linux background. Good to know. Prasanta as well. Okay. 3 people then. All right. It's okay. Anyway, we'll go from the basics so that it works like a refresher if anyone already know. So let's begin. So ls command, you all know, it will list the files and folders of the same directory, of that particular directory wherever you are, right? So now let's say I want to create a file. How do you create a file? You can use touch command, touch file1.txt, and now ls, yes, it will list the file. File is created. Right, there is also other way. There are different editors, particularly Vim editor. Vim is an editor on Linux with which you can create a files and edit the files. So I'm editing this file. How do you edit escape I? So that you would go to the escape mode and write something here, save it, right? So the file is saved. See, this editing the file is a little practice. At the bottom, if you see the file name is, it's in the command mode. Escape I will take you to the insert mode. Then you can type anything. If you want to save it, again escape, colon, WQ, exclamatory. So that the file will be saved. If you want to see the content, cat file name will help you see the content of the file. See here, you can see the content of the file, whatever present. Right? So that's a one way. Now, okay, I have the file. Let's say copying the file. These are all simple operations we perform, right? So how to copy the file? There's a command called cp file1. I want to copy into the same directory as a different file. So file2.txt. See? Now do ls. You can see the copy. Even if you want to see the contents of this, cat the file name. Right? You can see the contents of this file, which is the same line, right? That's how you create the files and edit the files. See, you don't worry about how to use Vim editor. Here, everything is there in detail. If you go to Linux basics now, you have how to edit the file, how to save the file with the Vim editor, everything is here. And all the Linux commands, basic commands, including explanation were here. Touch command, remove command, ls, cd, everything you have, right? So now let's say, okay, we have seen creating a file. How to create a folder, mkdir, make directory, and the folder name is, let's say, demo. ls, do you see that? Demo is the folder created. Now let's suppose you want to go into the folder. cd demo. This is called relative path. Relative path means you are already in the same location. So you create a folder this way. So cd demo ls, you don't have anything. Now, if you want to create anything, you can run the command here, like touch, let's say file3.txt, right? So file is created. This is called absolute path. This is called relative path. Because I'm on the same location, I can just give the folder name. This is called the absolute path, means the complete location of the folder. Present working directory, PWD, can give you the complete path. And I'm just coming out of the folder. cd ... means you will go one step back, right? It is same like if anyone is new, suppose you are here, right? Let's say I'm on my desktop. This is the desktop. You want to go one level back. This is how you do, right? The same thing is cd ... See, in this folder, let's say I go to phpdb, right? I'm inside this. If I want to go to desktop, I'll do this, right? That's what is CD dot dot. One level back, one level up. Okay. So now I have this. Now let's say we have seen copy. I want to move this file into demo. What is the difference between move and copy? I want to move this file into demo folder. That's all. See the source which you want to move, the destination where you want to move. I want to move into demo folder. I want to move file to. See, file 2 is no more here. It would be present in demo 2. You can go there and do ls. I'm coming back. See, file 2 is copied. If you want to ls of folder, you can go to that folder and do ls, or else you can do this way also. ls that folder name. So move is like cut and paste. Whereas copy is like it will copy and paste. So that's how you move. And if you want to delete any file, rm file 3 or file 1. See, file 1 is gone. What if you want to delete the folder? See, it says it's a directory. You can't use rm. To delete the folder and its contents completely, rm minus rf demo. See, everything is gone, right? Simple operations like creating a file, deleting a file, editing a file, moving a file. Very simple operations. Working with the files and folders, navigating through the file system in your operating system. As simple as that. These commands may sound tricky or confusing for a beginner. Little practice, that's all. Also, don't try to master them in a day. It's a continuous practice because it's an environment, right? A new platform, a new environment. So daily spending some time, daily using this, spending some 5 minutes on these commands every day will help you feel better with this. You will feel comfortable with this environment. Right? And what else we can see? If you want to see the details of this operating system, uname -a, right? It will show you it's a Linux, the DNS, everything it will show. And another thing is there are some system defined files which are already there. And one such file is present in the etc folder, etc OS release. This will give you all the details of your instance. Cat this file. See, it's Amazon Linux 2. I told you, right? It's like CentOS, Red Hat based. Amazon Linux 2, CP name, home URL, support end date. You will see all the details, right? Some commands or files where you can see all the details. And if you want to see the CPU details, ls CPU, and all the memory details, ls memory, right? Those are some commands which can help you. Any questions from anyone? And these are very basic commands. Until now, if you see, we are logged in as EC2 user, right? By default, you will be logged in as EC2 user for this Amazon Linux 2 instances. That's a default user, right? And that's a regular user. In Linux, there'll be something called root user. Root user is called super user, or else admin user who will have all the superpowers. Right, this user is like admin user in Windows. With admin, we can do certain things, right? Only admin can do certain things. So same is the case here. And these are all other users, regular users, like root user, EC2 user, and so on, Tom, any other regular users. And whenever you create a user, means of course, root user, EC2 user, or system defined default users. And for every user, there will be home directory with this name /root. For other regular users, it will be present under home, same name of the user. The directory will be the same name of, whenever user is created, this home directory is created. Home directory is nothing but like whatever EC2 user does, like installations and all will be going into that home directory, right? And also the file system in the Linux starts with the root. This is called the parent directory or the main directory, under which you will have the subparts and the subfolders. Like under this root, you will have something called home, or like whatever, you have so many things like HC and so on. So many other system defined folders. Everything will be under root. That's like you have different disks in Windows, right? It is something like that. You will have only one thing which is called root. Everything will be under that root directory. So the path starts with root. That's which is slash. And these are the home directories. Also by default, you will be in the home directory. Here you can see PWD. See, that's a home directory of the EC2 user. And here prompt tilde shows that you are in the home directory of this particular user. And like I told you, root user is the admin user with all the super privileges. If you want to switch to root, sudo su hyphen. See, you become a root user and you are in the home directory of root user. Do you see that? This is the home directory of root user. If you want to come out again, exit, you are as a root, EC2 user, and that's a home directory of EC2 user. And then okay. And now, like this is the home directory. To see all the user information, like what are all the users present and all, you have a file called etc password. See here, you will see these are all system defined users, of course, EC2 user also. So which shows is user directory, right? And some user ID, every user will have some user ID created and the home directory created with the same name, right? And another thing is, yes, whenever you create a user or else even the default users will be added into a group. See, when you have users, there'll be groups, isn't it? So whenever a user is created, there will be a group by the same name created. And this user will be added to this group by default. That's called primary group. I'm repeating, whenever you have users, definitely there'll be groups because that makes more sense, right? Or more logical. Let's suppose, okay, there's a team of 5 people. Okay, each user accounts to some human user, right? This is, of course, this is a system user, but let's say, okay, some human user, 5 users will create. Let's say they all have same permissions. You can create a group with them and assign permissions to that group, that which makes more sense and logical. So whenever you create a user, there'll be a group created by default with the same name of the user, and the user will be added to the group. Means suppose if you create Tom group will be created, Tom will be added to the group, and that group is called as primary group. Of course, we can change the groups. We can see when groups and users makes more sense when we talk about permissions, right? We'll come to that part, but first talking about creating users, groups, assigning permissions to them and all, right? So, and all the group informations can be seen under etc groups. etc group. Etc group, not group. So you see all the groups here. These are all user defined. We can create the groups as well. And okay, I'm as EC2 user. Suppose I want to see what are all the groups this EC2 user is added into. Run the groups command. See, EC2 user is added into EC2 user group, which is its primary group, admin group, wheel group, system D journal group. Those are all system defined groups. That's how you can see what are all the groups this user is added into. Is this much clear for all of you? Any questions? Can I proceed? Appreciate your quick responses. We were talking about user management. If you are good, I'll go ahead creating a user. Good to go?
Yes, Preeti.
Thanks, Divya, for confirming. So let's create some user, right? Assume, okay, we are a DevOps team. We want to create some users in the group so that they can be used for login. So let me create a user. How do you create a user? First, before creating a user, one more thing is EC2 user is created, but it's not having any password. We can set the password for the user using the command password EC2 user. But see here, only root can specify a username. Means a regular user cannot do that. Root user should do it. You can switch to root user and do it, or else here you can use sudo so that we will be running this command with the root user privileges. See, it's prompting for password. I'm setting some password. Again, it's asking to retype. Done. Password is set for EC2 user. And then let's say now I want to create a separate user. Add user command. Add user Tom. See again, permission denied. You should be a root user. So sudo add user. See, user is created. How do you know? Etc password. See here, Tom and group and user ID is assigned to him next to the user ID for EC2 user 1001 and home directory is created. Okay, fine, user is created. I could see that. And let's suppose I want to see what are all the groups this Tom is added into. If I run the groups, it will show the groups of EC2 user. But I want to see the groups of Tom. Groups Tom. See, Tom is added into Tom group. Like I told you, right? By default, a group by the same name will be created and the user will be added into the same group. So he is added into the Tom group. Okay. Right. So now let us switch to Tom. Before that, let's create a password for Tom as well. Sudo password Tom. Give some password. Done. So now switch to Tom user. How to switch to regular user? su-tom. su-tom, you should set the same password. See, I'm switched as Tom. Do you see here? Prompt changed. I'm Tom, logged into that machine, and it's showing as tilde means you are in the home directory. See, we are in the Tom's home directory. Understood, everyone? We created a user, we set the password for the user, and then we switch to Tom user. And if you run groups command because you are logged in as Tom directly, it will show the groups to which Tom is added. Tom is added into Tom group. You can change, you can remove him from this group, you can add him to other groups, you can do many things. We'll do all of that. Let's come out of the Tom. How to come out of Tom user? Exit. You'll be logged in as EC2 user, default user. Now, like we already have seen, groups of Tom is Tom. Like he is only into Tom group. Let's add him to other group. Before that, first create some group. Other than the default groups, let's create our own group. How do you create a group? Group add Tom. No, sorry, group add, let's say create a DevOps group. It should create a new group. How do you know? HC group. See, DevOps group is created. Now let us add Tom to this group. Again, groups Tom. Tom is into Tom group. Let us assign DevOps as the primary group and remove Tom from his group. To do that, sudo user mod -g DevOps Tom means it will assign Tom to this DevOps group. Tom user, this is username, this is group name. right? Minus G will add Tom to this group. Now let's see groups. Do you see that Tom is added into DevOps group? Can you all see that? Understood? He is removed from the Tom group. He is no more into the Tom group. You could also confirm this way. Switch to Tom. Run the groups. See, he is into DevOps group. He is removed from Tom group and added to DevOps group. Am I clear? Anything to be repeated, or is this clear? Are you all following? We are first creating some users, creating the group, seeing how to add to the group, how to remove from the group and all. Then we will learn assigning the permissions to the groups, which makes more sense. Is this much clear for everyone?
Yes, Prati.
Thanks, Ritesh, for confirming. How about others?
Preeti, in case we don't want to remove Tom from his group, keep him in that group as well and this group. In that case, what command?
Minus AG. We'll use append and modify. We'll go to that also. Append him to another group instead of removing from the existing group.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Preeti.
Okay. So, yeah. So that's how we can create the group, add the user to the group. And if you want to delete the group, now Tom group can be deleted, right? So sudo group delete Tom. Tom group will be deleted. How do you know? etc group file. See, 1001 is the group ID of Tom, which is not present. So Tom is deleted, and then Tom is into DevOps group. Sorry, groups of Tom. Right, he was into DevOps group. Now let's suppose I want to add Tom to some other group, but not delete from DevOps group. Again, sudo user mod minus AG, append him to admin group. Which user? Tom user. User group. So now this Tom will be appended to admin group, but he will not be removed from DevOps group. If you use only minus small g, he will be added to new group and will be deleted from the existing group. See now, he is into DevOps group as well as into admin group. Admin is the system defined group which is already present. I have added him into that. Right? Let's say I want to remove Tom from admin group. Right? How to do that? Remove user from a particular group. G password minus D. Remove Tom from which group? From admin group. See, he is removed from admin group. Right? These are all simple things. Memorizing these commands would take some time. You can just see and use it, understand and use it. You will master it as we progress. Okay? So those are the groups of Tom. And groups of EC2 user is EC2 user is all into this. But these groups and users, like creating users, groups makes more sense when you assign the permissions. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense, right? Why should we create a group? Right? Why do we need to create a group, adding the user to the group, deleting the group? Why should we do it? When you have some permissions to the group, when you assign permissions to the groups, correct? So that's where comes file permissions into picture. I think we can take up from here in the next class, file permissions, where we will use chmod commands like we did for the PEM file. As it's a day one, let's begin with this, creating an EC2 instance, connecting to the instance, and then executing these commands would take some time definitely for a beginner. Again, getting into the file permissions may not sound good. It doesn't look fair because you need to do hands-on on all of that if you are a beginner, definitely. do hands-on till this part. Any questions in the parts we covered? Any confusions? Should I repeat anything? As we have some time, I want to revise the things rather than starting a new topic. Anything should I revise or repeat? Is everyone clear with this part?
Preeti, Chandrasekhar here. If we have some time, could we please discuss on that branching strategies last week we were discussing?
Yeah, branching strategies as?
I would like to hear from you because once again, we were about to discuss the branching strategies, right? Could you please repeat that 2 to 3 minutes once again?
Okay, just give me a second.
Thank you.
Okay. So, okay, before going to the branching strategy, no questions on this Linux part, right? Everyone clear with this? If everyone have are coming from Linux background or have some idea or use Linux, all of that should be fine. But any beginners, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And coming to the branching strategy, like we were talking about different branches, right? Generally, if you talk about the master branch will be a dedicated branch, no direct push, no direct commits will be allowed on master. There will be restrictions posed, and master branch should not be messed up, or it's not allowed to push or commit directly to master. And there might be some branches like develop branch, release branch, and so on. So let's say a developer have to develop a new feature, or else as a DevOps person, I want to modify the pipeline and see adopt some new features there. I may create a branch from develop branch. I'll create a feature branch which is from develop branch. I'll create a feature branch from this develop here, and also pipeline will be created. CI/CD will be created, and we can test all the functionalities we want, and then we can merge it to develop branch. Once this feature is doing good, I'll merge it to develop. Means basically every developer or every person will create some feature branch from develop there. If it is working fine, merge it to develop branch. And again, develop branch will create a CI/CD pipeline. It would be deployed into dev environments, test it there. If this is doing fine, then it could be merged to release. Naming convention may be different. Their design may be different for each environment. But I'm talking about in general. Then develop will be merged into release. Release could be deployed into some test environments and test it. There'll be different releases which would be tested across. And once it is also working fine, it could be merged to master branch, or else which is for production. That's a basic flow or the strategies. We don't create or do anything on master. There'll be separate branches like feature branches, develop branch, release branch. These could be for permanent purpose. Like I would maintain them permanently. Rather, once feature is done and merged, I may delete these feature branches. So there could be any number of feature branches created on every repository day in and day out by different developers. They test it and then merge it to develop. And once develop is working fine, they'll merge those changes. Means develop will be merged to release, and then release to master. That could be the general branching strategy, how it works. Any queries here?
No, Preeti, I'm good. Thank you.
The whole point is like generally we create, whenever you create CI/CD pipelines in Jenkins, we will create something called multi-branch pipeline. Multi-branch pipeline is a type of Jenkins pipelines or jobs wherein it will identify all the branches and create a pipeline for all of them. Later on, if any new branch is created also, it will be scanned and a pipeline will be created. Means basically pipeline will be created for every branch you have in your repository. Of course, if you don't want it, you can disable it. But that's how it will create and it will be tested. So once let's say, okay, I'm a developer or else I'm a DevOps person, I want to test an EC2 feature. So I have created from develop branch, create a feature branch from develop, make changes here. Automatically pipeline will be created on Jenkins. It would be tested out. Then I'm pretty sure I'll merge it to develop. Then again, multi-branch pipeline will create a branch for, pipeline for it. Develop branch will be tested out. And if develop is doing good, it would be merged to release and release to master. Develop could be for dev environments, release could be for test UAT environments, and then master for prod environments. So that's a general branching strategy. And yeah, later on you could if you have like 20, 30 branches, you will have so many branches, so many pipelines created. You can delete these branches so that those pipelines would also be cleaned up on the Jenkins. That's again another call, like cleaning up, or you want to maintain these features. So definitely we will be cleaning up those feature branches and maintain those permanent branches as a standard branches.
So as and when we create these branches, right, these pipelines also creates automatically, Preeti, or we need
Yes.
to enable?
We have to configure it so
Okay.
that whenever you branch is created, pipeline is created. As a DevOps person, we'll configure that. Any more queries? Have you all completed Git hands-on over the weekend? So if you have completed Git, get started with this part. And like I have shown you, here are the references in the drive for installation, for connecting to the instance, everything you have here, refer them, get your lab setup done. So today's assignment is get your lab setup done, do the hands-on on whatever commands we have used. All of them were available here, right? Tomorrow we'll talk about file permissions, installing the packages and so on. As such concept, all of that are coming in. So be prepared with your hands-on.
Yeah, Priti, Ritesh here. Just one question. I mean, do we need to keep the VM on for the week, entire week or something?
Yeah. So coming to this VM, once you are done, just go here, select the instance. Okay, select this checkbox. Stop the instance. Stop, it will be stopped. Whenever you want, come here and select that and start instance. That's what you should. You shouldn't leave that, keep running. It will be counting all the hours of
Right.
whatever
It will it will incur the cost, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So stop the instance. And once you are done, like let's say you don't need it at all anymore, then terminate. See, it is showing you terminate means it will stop and delete that instance.
Okay.
So it's up to you whether you want to stop it or delete it. But stop it and reuse it tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you.
So that it will be within the limits of the free tier usage. You can see your free tier usage here. You can see bill service quotas here. You can see like how much of free tier usage is there. Have you crossed the free tier limits? You can see them here. Maybe not here. Yeah, here only you can see EC2. Not this one. Cost Explorer. This is because I have used some paid service. Don't worry about it. Here actually in the Cost Explorer, there should be something like free tier usage. Yeah. Okay. Under this cost analysis, I'm showing you again. Go here. Billing cost management, cost explorer, free tier. right?
Okay.
Here you can see what are the limits you have. Forecasted usage is 44 GB per month. And I have used this as Amazon Cloud, Compute Cloud EC2, and your usage can be seen here. I have used too many paid service and also don't worry about this. You keep checking yourself here. Cloud compute, see how many hours, 750 hours is the limit, right? I have used 133 hours and 196 is the forecasted usage. It's within the limit.
Okay. Okay.
This is actually EBS volume. This is one more thing you should be cautious about. Let me tell you, this is EBS volume, means elastic block storage. Every instance, every VM will be having some storage used, right? So that storage can be seen here. Please listen here carefully. Don't leave. This is important. Whenever you create an instance, obviously some EBS will be added to it. Okay. And that can be seen here on the left-hand pane if you just come volumes. Okay. See, region is changed. That's why I'm not seeing it. We are doing it in Mumbai. So go for Mumbai. See here, I have 4 instances. 4 8s is the default Gibbs added. 4 8s 40. Total is 40, right? So you shouldn't be using more than 32 Gibbs. Remember, you shouldn't be using more than 32 Gibbs. Your EBS total volume should not be more than 40. So sorry, more than 32. I think it's 4 8s 32. It's perfect. Here I have 4 instances. This should be fine. But earlier, I think I have seen here 0 by 4. I think I have more EBS usage. That's why it's showing here. Okay, 30 Gibbs is used. Forecast is 44, right? So MTD usage, forecasted usage, everything you have. Make sure that whenever you delete the instance, it will be gone. But go to this volume EBS and make sure you are deleting that.
Okay.
So you can see your usages here, current usage, forecasted usage, whether it is in the limits or not. All right,
And
then.
yeah, Preeti, and this VM need to be in AWS only, not any other cloud, right? Just trying to confirm.
Yes, keep
Oh,
it in AWS.
okay. Thank you.
So I have stopped. Now you will see the stop. And my EBS is within 32, which is fine. If it is more, like if I have more instances, make sure you terminate the unused instances and clear it off. And your usage can be seen in the cost explorer. All right, then. Thank you all. Good day. See you all tomorrow. Bye, everyone.
Bye.